appreciate that. So for the record, my name is Jonathan Jones. I'll be your host and moderator for this afternoon. Today is October the 3rd. It's 2021. And you've been invited to our health and wellness conference. We host this meeting every Sunday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you're more than welcome to join us and invite anyone that you care about to this meeting. We're happy to have any questions, or if you'd like to know the sources of any of the information that I pass on, just send me an email. My email is jonathan@hcsAAA.com. Jonathan at HCS, Harry, Charlie, Sam, AAA, 3 A's, AAA.com. And a phone number that will reach me. I'm getting a notice here that my internet is unstable, so I'm shutting down other programs in Windows to try to beef it up a little bit. A phone number that will reach me is 754-300-8909. But I highly recommend that you don't rely on trying to call. But if you're able to text or email, that's your best option, because then I can respond to emails and text messages late at night, early in the morning. And I often walk early in the morning. So if you're an early riser, and you want me to call you back early in the morning, then I'll be able to give you a call sometime early when I'm out walking. And by the way, speaking of walking, I hope that most of you are moving. Gave you information a few weeks ago that you decrease your mortality by as much as 70% by walking just 7,000 steps a day. And if walking is a challenge because of weather, things like that, you can use a trampoline. A trampoline, the best one is a Bellicon, but they're very expensive, very pricey. It's like the Rolls Royce of trampolines, but they've got those bungee cords instead of springs, because springs can be kind of harsh on the joints. The next best one that's more in the realm of the rest of us mortals is called Jump Sport. So just Google it. You can find it probably on Amazon or something, but it's about a fraction of the cost of a Bellicon, but it's got the bungee cords. So you can do that, but just 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes, 6 times a day gives you a total of 30 minutes. Well, if you can do 30 minutes at one time, that's fine. And you don't have to go airborne. Just your feet just need to lift from the pad. So just bouncing gives you gravity. That by itself, 30 minutes a day, will do wonders, for your health and your lymphatic system. So highly recommend that. So do things to help your own health to improve. Meetings like this is not designed to be a replacement for a visit to your primary healthcare physician. I'm not a medical doctor, don't claim to be one. I just do research. What got me into this particular mode is when I watched my mother die, and I asked the intensive care nurse what they were doing for her. And I was actually believing that the hospitals and intensive care meant that they were intensely caring for a person and actively doing things. But this woman said to me, and I'll never forget it, she said, "We're monitoring her very closely." I said, well, I'm doing that. I mean, what are you actually doing to change her condition? What's being done to actually increase her chances of coming out of here alive? And she gave me a deer in the headlight look. This is back in 2001. And she said, no, 2001, 2002. I think it was late 2001, early 2002. She says, to be honest with you, Jonathan, we're praying for her immune system to kick in. And it was unbelievable for me to hear those words. So that just told me that there was no device that I could have engineered. I was in computer electronics and engineering that could have extended my mother's life 5 minutes. But if I had an immune system kicker in her, there's a chance that my mother would still be alive today. So that told me I was in the wrong line of work, and it was time for me to do something else. I didn't want to go and pursue getting a medical license or anything like that, but I knew that there was a lot of information out there that needed to be uncovered. So that's what my wife and I have been doing ever since. is researching, and we get information, and we just try to present what we find and things that we test ourselves. So we don't generally promote anything that we haven't tested ourselves. And Joanna is very sensitive to everything. And I was driven to try to find a solution for her health problems.
Hello, Lou.
Because she's chronically inflamed.
Hi, Lou. Yeah. Thank you.
I thought that I muted that.
You can make me co-host.
Yeah, I'm definitely working on that right this second. There we go. Joanna is very sensitive to everything. It turns out she was allergic to about 50 pages of things. Everything was affecting her. So it didn't take too many years of doing research to find out that chronic inflammation is a heart attack waiting to happen. So keep that in mind. Inflammation. In fact, Newsweek magazine about 10 years ago or so, I had an article. I think it was the front of the magazine said that inflammation is the alpha and the omega of heart disease. You can Google it, that exact expression. Inflammation is the alpha and the omega of heart disease. So that told me that, you know, she was, who knew how much more time she had. But if I didn't find some way to reduce this inflammation, because all the doctors would say that her immune system is in full tilt, it's wide open, and normally that's an indication of cancer, but there were no cancer cells in her body. They found no evidence of that, but they could not explain why her immune system was in hyperdrive. And so it was just a matter of time. And sure enough, it wasn't long after that that something started showing up on her echocardiogram. So she was in trouble. But eventually that led us to a couple of brilliant scientists, one out of New Zealand that developed a product that's extracted from bovine colostrum. Same product is used as a drug in Nigeria for treating HIV. People with AIDS had a phenomenal effect on children with autism and all kinds of other things. And it turns out his product and his discovery also was extremely good for leaky gut syndrome. And as I was reading his book on the airplane back from visiting with him in Arizona, I found a paragraph that described exactly the symptoms that Joanna was having. That's what made us conclude that she had leaky gut syndrome. And of course, his product solved that. Her immune system started calming down, and now she's not allergic to 50 pages of things. She might be allergic to half a dozen things. And we believe mostly that's because of toxins that may be trapped in her lymphatic system. So we're working to clean out her lymphatic system as well. And she is able to be much more normal now than she ever was before. The point I'm getting at is that it took tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, I estimated it once, it was over $100,000, and years and years, we estimate that we spent trying to get to that solution. And how it is that no doctor could diagnose that is baffling to me. How it is that scientists don't have a test to tell you that something like this is the problem is beyond me, but no one could come up with solutions. So most of the time, you have to be your own health advocate, or you must have someone advocating for you. So, and doctors have even said it, that they want their patients to be mentally and emotionally involved in their own well-being. They don't like it for the patient to expect that the doctor is the messiah, and that they are the 100% end-all, cure-all. Some of them, of course, have what's been referred to as a God complex, but you might want to just make sure that you're using a doctor that you particularly like and trust. And we recommend, by the way, that you seek competent medical advice of professionals that you trust, and not just take information and advice from someone, like me blindly. Talk to your doctor. We highly recommend that you do that. And even when we recommend certain supplements and things, feel free to talk to your doctor about it. Most doctors, when they look at the supplements that we recommend, they look at it, they see that it's innocuous and that it won't hurt you. There are some doctors who have told their patients, I don't want you taking that because it will interfere with my treatment for you. I had, in fact, one client, she was like my mother. She was like my mother's mother. And She had high blood pressure that could not be controlled, and I recommended that she take one of these products by Engage Global, Micro Daily Hydro. And she sent me a text message a few days later, and I saved the text message so that there's evidence that this actually took place. She could not believe that nothing was making her blood pressure come down. That's the way she described it at the time. A few days later, her blood pressure began to come down into areas that she hadn't seen in years. She took it to her doctor. The doctor told her to stop taking it. Blood pressure went back up out of control again, and not even a year later, she's on dialysis. And just miserable. Her whole life is miserable. But because her doctor told her to stop taking it, she simply stopped taking it. Kind of reminded me of my mother. My mother said I have to take it to my doctor first, but she never did. And in fact, the products that I gave my mom was still in her house after she died. She never did talk to her doctor about it. So, but anyway, at this point, my goal is to be able to make sure that through meetings like this, conferences like this, if you have someone that you care about, bring them here, and we'll be happy to try to explain to them some of the options that are available to them. We announced that today we're going to talk a little bit about vaccine, one that has been, we've been eyeballing it now for about 6 months, maybe a year, called Novavax, because some folks are a little bit leery about some of the vaccines. And by the way, just to be really clear, I'm not anti-vax in any way, shape, or form. If you're being encouraged to get vaccinated, it's your decision, it's your choice, it's whatever you decide that you want to do. Some people have medical reasons as to why they have chosen not to, but whatever decisions you make it with knowledge. Though. Don't just make it with just based on emotion and pure negativity. That won't help. But make your decision based on knowledge. Had one friend, was approaching retirement age, so she must be about 64, 65, somewhere in that area. She finally decided, because she worked for ATF, that's a branch of the federal government. This is before the mandates kicked in, that she was going to go ahead and get vaccinated because everybody around was pressuring her, and she liked working from home, but her supervisors was pressuring her to come into the office. So she finally decided to go get vaccinated. She went to a pharmacist. The pharmacist interviewed her, and because of her underlying health conditions, the pharmacist recommended that she not get vaccinated. She couldn't believe it because, finally she caved in and she's going to go ahead and take it, but the pharmacist told her not to. She went across town to a different pharmacist, different company altogether, so that there'd be no connection between them. The second pharmacist told her the same thing. So in her case, she chose not to. I don't know what her disposition is now, but that's what she ran into when she was looking to go get vaccinated. But right now there's a lot of pressure because different parts of the country, there's a lot of pressure being put on to get vaccinated. So the question is, which one do you choose? And we've had some discussions here about pros and cons of some of the mRNA vaccines. But our goal was to just tell you that no matter what you chose, prop up your immune system. Dr. Prasad, in our interview with Dr. Prasad, he said that if you choose to get vaccinated, you must have a robust immune response, because the goal of the vaccine is to teach your immune system how to make proper antibodies. If your immune system isn't strong, it won't make the antibodies. It will just turn on cytokine storm, and the cytokines themselves become toxic. And that's the problem. So getting vaccinated without a strong immune system is not good. If a person chooses not to get vaccinated, you must have a strong immune system, because the slightest thing can come along, including a virus, something even as serious as the one that we're dealing with right now could come along, and the outcome could be catastrophic. Two friends right now that just overcame their second run-in with the current virus that's raging around the world. Their first run-in was in January of 2020. You might remember that it wasn't even officially announced, I think, in this country until around March that it was here. March or so is when we went on lockdown, I believe. But early that year, it was still the Super Bowl, so nobody was really talking about it. But they know that they both had something that they'd never had before, and they really felt like they were going to die. So at that time, the wife sent questions about what was for some recommendations, just asked for some recommendations. And I still don't remember what we recommended, but we sent her recommendations. And to this day, she believes that whatever it was that we encouraged her to do, she believes that that's the reason why she and her husband both were able to get past it. About a year later, they went to a doctor who, in doing tests, kinesiology or some sort of biofeedback type of diagnostic, said that there was something going on with your heart. And he says, in fact, it looks like you may have even had a heart attack, but it's all cleared up now, everything is fine. And she traced that back to that time period, back in centered around when they had their first run-in, they believe, with coronavirus. Now, about 2 months ago, a month and a half or so ago, somewhere around there, they absolutely positively tested positive for COVID. This is not a guess. This is not, conjecture, we feel bad, nothing. They both came up with absolute positive tests, COVID-19. Neither one of them had chosen to be vaccinated, mainly because of underlying health reasons. So they asked for a specific protocol. We sent it to them, same protocols that we've recommended here to you folks. You can find some of the recommendations on the website, amerixbio.com, AMERXBIO.com. So you can just go there. There's a little package that you can get. And so that's what they did. They took that and then maybe added a few other natural things like oregano and something else to their protocols. And we just talked with them just yesterday, as a matter of fact. No evidence of anything ever been wrong with them. They're just as happy as ever. But a month and a half ago, it sounded like they were going to just die. So, but for the second time, they've overcome this very serious viral infection that has now chalked up 700,000 plus deaths in this country. So the point of that is that your immune system can do it. You just have to make sure your immune system is propped up with the right tools. Don't be irresponsible and just be blindly saying, I'm not ever taking that liquid into my arm. Make sure your immune system is nice and propped up. So, but now the question is, what is Novavax? And why is it that we keep posting information about Novavax? The reason we post information about Novavax is because it's a different kind of vaccine. I'm not going to draw any pictures, but maybe at some point I'll try to sketch things out, but my computer still is running a little bit slow, and I think I would just crash the machine right now. But I'm going to give you just a little basic idea of how it works. The mRNA vaccines, they inject them into the arm. And I'm not sure if on your screen it looks like my left arm or not, but I'm actually pointing to my left shoulders where they're injected. And the idea behind vaccinations is that it's supposed to stay in the injection site. Now, it turns out some of the mRNA vaccines are not remaining in the injection sites. They're actually finding out that the actual material itself, the actual liquid, travels throughout the body. Now, just on a sidebar on that, listen carefully. Just found this out. There's a doctor in the UK that I believe has come the closest to explaining why that is the case, because no one ever explained how that was, because I mean, if it shoots it into your muscle, how does it just get up and walk around in your body? He mentioned something called aspirate. Listen carefully, aspirate. A doctor, nurse who's skilled, and he said that he would always train his nurses to do this first. Make the injection and then pull back a little bit first before injecting the liquid. Pull back a little bit. If I'm pulling back, there's blood that comes back in. That tells the professional that you're inside a blood vein, a vessel, or a blood vessel. And if that's the case, do not deliver the material. Because now what you're going to do is you're going to infuse the liquid, which will then distribute it all throughout the body. But if you pull back and there is no blood, then now you can inject the material and it should stay right there in that site. They call that aspirating. if I remember correctly. I saw the video about 2 weeks or so ago, but that would make it stay. So that's what you want to do is if you do decide to go and get, the liquid injected into your body, then you want to ask, will they aspirate? The CDC doesn't require it. The FDA is not requiring it. And he was saying they should do that. They even had some clinical studies showing that when it's infused, when they literally put it in as an infusion into the blood system, that's when it ends up in the brain and started causing all kinds of heart problems, like the heart issues that young boys particularly are having, and ending up in the ovaries and other places where there's massive amounts of ACE2 receptors. That's where those spike proteins want to end up. But anyway, set that aside. The way that it works is it takes and uses coding from your own cells and causes your cells to manufacture the spike proteins, thereby the immune system creating antibodies against it. So that's the way an mRNA vaccine works. It takes coding from specific coding, DNA coding from the spike protein, uses your own body's DNA. So this mRNA vaccine uses part of your body's own DNA and causes your cells to manufacture the spike protein. That's how it works. Novavax is totally different. It doesn't use the mRNA technology at all. It takes actual DNA of the spike protein. It's part of the liquid that's injected into the body. They take that spike protein, grow it in a lab. They use a small bacteria that's totally innocuous because it comes from a moth. It's a nanoparticle, and they build around it all these little spikes. That's the way they make it work. So now what's being injected into you is not the actual virus, but a component that looks like it, behaves like it, it's got all these spike proteins all around it. So your DNA is not being used at all. It's all been manufactured. It's more the way that vaccines used to work. So now if you get injected properly, ask the doctor, the nurse, do they understand what aspirating is? Try to get that procedure done so you know that it's not being injected into your blood system, that it's just being injected into the tissue in your muscle, right? That's where you want it to stay and go no place else. If that's the case, then your immune system can pick it up and create antibodies accordingly, and now your body is defended. That's the way that vaccines are supposed to work. Now, that's the good news if you're interested in a more traditional vaccine. The bad news is, let me just show you this real quick. There's an article that tells you just how significant that particular vaccine is. It's all over. It's all over the internet now, and it has been for quite some time. But again, what do you look for? How do you know? Here's an article that indicates that they are going for World Health Organization high meeting controls. There it is. They're submitting, they're applying for approval by the World Health Organization. And this article says that if it's approved, it's so significant, this Novavax, that it could completely upstage mRNA jabs. Now, the company has to solve their manufacturing delays. The manufacturing delays it's very time consuming for them to manufacture it. The actual product itself is extremely inexpensive. It is cheap. And besides this company being on the horizon and the recent announcement by Merck that they've now developed a pill that reduces the chance of an adverse outcome from the current virus in the hospital by 50%. So a pill that they can give to people who are suffering with the worst parts of it, and reduce the chances, decrease the mortality rate and increase the survivability rate by 50%. So that caused the stock in Pfizer and Moderna to drop radically because these things are on the horizon. So anyway, this Novavax, as you see from this article, and this is not the only one that's made claims like this. They are claiming that this would be the vaccine that is the end all, because it's like 96% effective, and it turns out it's also equally as effective against Delta, Mu, um, the what's the L one? Whatever the other one. All these other variants, basically.
Lambda.
Lambda, thank you. The Lambda variant, and they're saying that that this one has proven to be effective against all those variants as well. That's what's making it a game changer. The downside is that because it's so cheap, they're choosing to go through the World Health Organization to get approval there. Their target distribution may be, countries that are less affluent. Europe has ordered a couple 100 million doses of it. Japan has ordered 150 million doses of it. They got pre-orders for about 1.1 billion doses of it already, but it may or may not be available here in the United States, the Philippines and other countries, Canada even. Now, I would say just get in the car and drive to Canada, but you'd have a hard time getting across the border. So if you got a boat, maybe you can go through the Great Lakes or something and swim your way in. I'm just kidding. So don't go to the Great Lakes and try to swim to Canada to get the Novavax. That was a joke. Just trying to be clear. Okay. So anyway, it may not be available here in the United States. I hope it is. I hope it becomes available. And what was also very interesting was when they did the stage 3 clinical trials, the FDA declared participants, those who participated in the stage 3 clinical trials of Novavax, they declared them fully vaccinated. Do you understand what that means? The World Health, if they submit for approval, the World Health Organization has no choice but to consider this to be a person who takes the Novavax to be fully vaccinated. And there's no mRNA technology in it. It's the way vaccines were made, from back in the day. Okay, so that's the, in a nutshell, the story about Novavax. So vaccinated or not, it's your decision, it's your choice. All doctors recommend vaccination. Every country and government official is recommending, most government officials are recommending vaccination. In Florida, it's a little different. The governor here is not requiring vaccination, but in some countries, some states like California, there's all kinds of mandates going into place, about getting vaccinated. But again, it's your choice as to what you decide to do. My recommendation, bottom line, is make sure you have microdaily, a micronutrient as part of your regimen, as part of your protocol. Get microdaily in. Now, how much microdaily should you take? I'm personally now taking the one that I'm using the most is the hydro. The reason for that is because it gives me more water. And what I do is I take 2 packets now, and I put it in a 16-ounce bottle of water like this. And I do one of these after breakfast in the morning. So I drink 1 bottle of water as soon as I get out of bed. So everybody should do that, by the way. And there's a scientific reason why you would want to do that. I'll give you a brief explanation as to why. At night, the body goes through something called self-cannibalism, autophagy. And that's when old cells that are useless are being broken down into their molecular level, to a molecular level, and recycled and being consumed and reintegrated back into the body. That's the autophagy. So the ideal cycle for that is 12 hours of construction, where you're consuming things, and 12 hours of autophagy. So you should not be eating anything for 12-hour periods. So if you start eating at 6 o'clock in the morning, don't eat anything after 6 o'clock at night. If you start at 8 o'clock in the morning, don't eat anything after 8 o'clock at night. So you should be 8 hours off, 12 hours when you're not consuming anything, and let the body go into autophagy. If you drink water in the morning, as soon as you get up, it's the first thing that goes into your body, you can trick your body to staying into autophagy a little bit longer. And that basically means that you're living a little bit longer, so you're properly hydrated. So there's a scientific reason for that. Dr. Wolf Droge explained that to us years ago. Dr. Wolf Droge. He's like the godfather of glutathione. So a bottle of water first thing in the morning. Then after breakfast, I put 2 packs of hydro in one of these. After lunch, somewhere between lunch and dinner, I get down a second one. So I'm just now getting down my second one. You want to make sure that you take it with food, and there's a reason for that also. Some of the minerals in microdaily are water soluble. That's fine. They'll break down in your body whether you have food in your stomach or not. But the ones that are oil soluble need a little bit of food. They need fats. So some of your food that will have fats in it, and even a small amount of it is going to be in your food, that will break down the oil soluble components in microdaily. So you want to do that with food. It tends to want to bring your sugar levels down also. So that's another reason for making sure that you've got some food in your body when you take it. So when I say I take 2 packets of each, that's twice a day. The recommended dose is 1 packet twice a day. But because once you get over 50, being over 50, aging, is called a chronic problem now. It's a chronic disease. And by the way, it's being sedentary. If you're not out there doing that 7,000 steps a day, then that's a disease. No exercise is now considered to be a disease worse than being a diabetic smoker. So you have a better chance of living longer if you have diabetes and you smoke than if you are simply a person that doesn't exercise. So that's how important exercise is. So not exercising is a disease, and now aging is a disease. You can't stop the aging thing. So, but I have definitely found that by doubling up the dose, it makes a huge difference for me as far as inflammation is concerned. I've got 8 different areas of my body that have inflammation issues. My shoulder, my knee, my left knee, my right toe, and left thumb. Anyway, the list just goes on. So, but when I take this, those areas are, the inflammation in those areas is completely under control. So if you're under 40 and under, then you can probably get away with just the regular dose. But if you know that you've got a chronic problem, then add more. So if you're taking 2 capsules twice a day and you're still noticing that you've got issues, add a 3rd capsule if you're using the original formula. If you're using the EMF, 3 capsules is the equivalent to 2 capsules of the regular. The EMF is more ingredients. So, but if you're not getting the results, add another capsule. If you're still not getting results, add another capsule. So just keep increasing it or your doses until you do see results, because you can't overdose on it. You're just basically not taking enough of it to resolve, whatever your issues are, especially if they're inflammation related, put it that way. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. The regular microdaily, if you're here for the first time, you just get back with the person who invited you, and they'll help you to set up a discount account. So instead of paying $65, $70 per bottle for the original formula, you can get it for as low as $49.95. You got to pay the shipping and the taxes, of course. That's just standard. But $49.95, $50 is what it will round up to. The hydro, you can get that for $10 more. So that's about $59.95 if you go on a subscription. So set the subscription up. Don't get freaked out and start saying, well, I don't want anything auto ship coming to me. I can't stop it. Yes, you can. You can stop it. It's very simple to do. You can either log into your own back office yourself and stop the order, or just pick up the phone and call them, and they will stop your order. So you can always stop it. But if you want the discount, say yes to the subscription and just let it come automatically. Even if it piles up a little bit, which, by the way, I highly recommend that you get yourself like a 90-day supply. I seriously, folks, stay 90 days ahead. Know that you've got enough product for at least 90 days out, because I believe at some point there will be some supply issues. Even now, the news is reported that the Postal Service is about to slow down their services. So who knows what else is going to happen, because this pandemic isn't over. So let's just put it to you that way. It's not over. But you don't ever want to be in a position where you don't have enough to take care of you and people around you that you care about. Okay, so that's the other bottom line with that. But get back with the person who invited you here, and they'll help you set up that account. So we'll pause now for a couple minutes and just take some of your questions. If there's questions about something that we just discussed, or if you've got a story that you'd like to share with us, please do so unmute yourself, and you can use the raise your hand feature if you want to. And we're dying to hear from you. Well, not dying, but itching. Okay, we'll say that. We're itching to hear from you. Okay, no questions. Good. When there's no questions, that means that everything went just right. Excellent. I'm thinking back if anybody sent any questions in that I had not addressed before. Ruth Lawrence has a question before I could think up the other one. So go ahead, Ruth, please.
I'm wondering about the microdaily. I know myself, I'm convinced that it doesn't cause any problem with any medication. I heard that come out of Dr. Prasad's mouth.
Mhm.
I have a friend that he has blood clots that just forms all over his body. His sister died with it. So now he's taking Cumulin, his Cinepril for blood pressure. And I had him on microdaily. And he said that he had to get off the microdaily. I just talked to him about a few minutes before this meeting. And he said he had to get off the microdaily because that was interfering with his Cumulin. But I heard out of Dr. Prasad's mouth that it causes no medicational problems. But I'm not a doctor. So I don't know how to convince him that he needs to be on it. So, but he has some for his breath, and that's what I was talking about. He has real bad knee problems. He can't hardly walk. He's 10 years older than I am. And it's really my first cousin. So
Wow.
he's like my brother to
Wow.
me. And but he's now he has to live with his daughter because his body is not where he could perform too much for himself. And his wife has a slight dementia. So, but I was trying to help him appreciate it. He needs to keep taking it, but I don't want him to take it and then something happens and he put it on microdaily.
Yep. Understandable.
At the same time, what else do we know that we could do for him that can help these blood clots? What you think about it? What you
Was the doctor? It was the doctor that told him to stop taking it.
No, I don't think it was the doctor. I didn't ask him if it was the doctor.
I think you should try that, Ruth. Get him to take it to the doctor and ask the doctor if it's okay for him to continue taking it.
Yeah, it might have been his daughter. You know how they say, well, maybe you know, like I need to take this. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go to the doctor with it, and sometimes what's happening is that they were already taking some other vitamins, and that could be a problem if they're taking extra vitamins and other things. That could be a problem. Then it kind of disrupts the whole formula. So it's better to take microdaily. Stop taking all other multivitamins. Just stop that. This formula is very, very carefully balanced, and take this only. But I would recommend that he call the doctor and tell the doctor that he wants to take a multivitamin, and he'd like to have him take a look at it. If the doctor says don't take it, then by all means back away and just leave it alone. But the doctor may tell him, I don't see anything wrong with this. So try that.
Right. Well, his body just, he didn't get it from our side of the family because nobody else had it, just him and his sister. So he must have got it from his mother's side of the family. She died with blood clot with her young. But he had it before she did, because he's doing a little better, but he's older than her. And today when I talked to him, I really didn't like the way he was sounding, very breathless. And just, you know, you could tell he was sounding really weak for the man that I know.
And how old is he now?
He's about 70, he's about 78 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
Almost 80.
Yeah. Well, he's if he takes action, he can do something. Now, the only other thing that has been tremendously beneficial with blood clots is DNA 136.
What is it?
DNA 136.
DNA 146.
Yeah, it's just very expensive. But the formulator himself had his doctor, the gentleman who formulated it, his doctors said that he had 80% pulmonary embolism. Now, if you know what that means, imagine if these are all the lines going to your lungs, and there's 10 lines going to your lungs, bringing blood to the lungs. And this is just this is just for illustration purposes. Imagine now only two of those lines being available. One going to each lung. You had 80% pulmonary embolism. Dr. Nkuzi was there when the man told us the story. He looked at me and Dr. Nkuzi said, that's incompatible with life. You can't live with 80% pulmonary embolism. 3 or 4 doctors came into the room and said to him, what are you taking? They said, we don't even know how you're alive. All of his blood vessels going to his lungs was completely blocked because of blood clots. He had a massive blood clot in his leg or something, and it was all throughout his body. But he was taking high doses of DNA 136, and he was able to live. He had 95% oxygenation at his fingertips.
You call it DNA 136.
That's correct.
Where would you find that, Jonathan?
DNA136.com.
Oh.
But send me a message and call me, and I'll walk you through that. Okay.
Okay.
But phenomenal for blood clots, no question about it.
Okay, because he said that's what he was saying. He was put in the hospital for that, and they let him out. But I can still tell his lungs is messed up because he has so much for his breath.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to have problems for a while. If he's not at the very least getting microdaily, I would recommend talk to the doctor first about microdaily, because that's the least expensive solution, much cheaper. You can get 3-4 bottles of microdaily for what 1 canister of DNA 136 costs. And for DNA 136, he needs like 3 or 4 of them. So microdaily is the cheaper way to resolve that issue.
Okay.
Okay.
And I have experience, but I'll let somebody else go. If nobody want to go there now.
No hands up yet, so go ahead. Tell your story.
I have an experience about how Michael Bailey has worked on an 88-year-old, she's 88, my mother. She been having problems with her knees because she used to work in people's homes and she scrubbed floors with her down on her knees. Back then, they scrub floors like that. So she did that. Then she was a farm girl. When she was a child, she would crawl on her knees, picking beans, picking peas, picking all, bell peppers and all that, because her daddy had a farm. That's how they made a living for themselves. So over time now, she fell in a store. There was all water on the floor. She didn't see the water. She fell flat on her knees. Pop! You see, when she came to her senses, she was burning all over. And she realized she was on the floor, knees and hand, with the knees hit the floor and her hand was down like that on the floor. So she got up and she didn't tell nobody. She just walked out. She popped us out of there.
Wow.
That's been 30 years ago. So in the process of that now, for the last 15 years, she had knee problems. And I had to stay with her for a while. For about 2-3 years, I had to stay in the house with her because she had got so bad. She was bedridden for a while, and her knees were so feverish. When you put a cold pack on it, it just melted away.
Ooh.
So it took until we finally got her in. Supposed to be the best doctor in Fort Lauderdale with the bones, the knees. We got her in there, and he looked at her knees on the X-ray. He told her she had the worst knees he ever saw in his whole practice.
Oh my goodness.
It was jagged bones all over the place because she made herself walk anyway.
So she really shattered her kneecaps.
She just busted them up. And then she's a very heavy hip person. So when she walked, it just boom. and just study cracking down on it like that. And she wouldn't get in a wheelchair. She's very independent. She would not sit in that wheelchair until she got totally couldn't go. And that made it even worse too, because she was so in the process, all of that, just telling you how she was so terribly done with herself with her knees. When I learned about microdata the first time we ever came to one of your meetings there, and I got her on microdaily, but she wasn't taking it regularly, and we didn't know it, all the different things about it, but it did help me with my business moving about so much, not being so tired. So I put my mom on it and my dad. And I guess it took about 4 years. The doctor wouldn't do her knees. He wouldn't operate on it. He said, "You don't make it." He said, "Well, it won't help you at all."
Wow.
So just so terribly bad. So when we just started giving her that, and it was kind of hard to give her that, but she was the kind to say, "Well, I don't take nothing my doctor don't tell me to take."
Of course.
By me being a child, her child, she can tell me what she feels about everything.
Yep.
So for a minute, she was not taking it. So my dad said, "Let me take this stuff. There's nothing wrong with it." He started taking it. And over time, she started taking it. In the process of it now, we got into coronavirus.
Yeah.
And we've been in it now for a year and a half. So 4 months ago, maybe a little longer than that, about 6 months ago, we were down to her house, but I don't go in the house because of the coronavirus. At that time, I wasn't vaccinated either.
Yeah.
So I go in the house, and my mom stood at the door for 45 minutes and talked to me.
Oh my goodness.
With no cane, no nothing. Just standing talking to me and clapping her hands and saying, "Oh, she just talking and so excited we were visiting with her." And my husband said, "Do you realize your mama stood at the door for 45 minutes and didn't complain about her knees?"
Wow.
I said, "Oh no, I didn't think about it." I was just enjoying her too. But she's taking microdeli. That's the only thing else that she's taking.
Yeah.
It's microdeli. So I have got to give it to microdeli for helping her with her pain and helping her feel better. And her knees is not swollen anymore. Oh, she was in a wheelchair too for about 3 years.
Wow.
Not in a wheelchair anymore. So she's kind of a little forgetful. For my daddy is 94, 93. He don't forget anything. So he tells me all the time, "The yellow water is really good." He can't remember the day he said yellow water is really good. Yeah.
That's it. That's
So
it.
he make sure mama gets it every day, twice a day. He give it to her, shake it up and give it to her. They take the hydro too.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Well, thank you very much for sharing that story, Ruth. That's a strong, strong, strong testament for the importance of keeping inflammation down. And this definitely is a ticket to that. Very good. Thank you. Yep. Look forward to hearing the follow-ups on that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Annette Austin has a question now also.
Yes, I have a question. You say with the hydro that you should eat, take that, drink that while you're eating, or can you just drink it, sip on it throughout the day?
You
Or
can sip on it throughout the day, but the only thing is that basically just remember that there are oil soluble components in there, which means it needs food in the stomach, some kind of a fat in the stomach to break them down fully. So, but like right now, I ate about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, and I'm still drinking this. So it won't kill you. Just make yourself aware that if you don't want to just be all day on an empty stomach and then try to drink it and think everything's going to be fine. So make sure that there's some food in your stomach. Even if you just eat a couple of almonds or something, just something that has some kind of fat in it.
okay, and is that the same when you're taking the regular?
All of them. They're all the
Macadamia?
same formula. It's all the same formula.
Okay, so
Yeah,
make sure you eat whenever
Yeah,
you're
it's
in it.
better with food. Dr. Prasad said it's better with food because there's oil soluble minerals in there.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. All
You're
right,
quite
thanks.
welcome. Thank you for the question. And Catherine Robinson has a question. There's Catherine. Nope, changed your mind, Catherine? Someone raised a question. Let's see if I can get back to the chat.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can sure hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, just briefly, this person I believe was on the micro daily for 3 weeks and said their blood pressure and their blood sugar has considerably dropped. They keep calling every week telling me about their blood pressure, blood sugar has never been that low in a long time. As a matter of fact, they got kind of scared because it went, way, way lower. So I just wanted to mention that they weren't able to make it this evening.
Wow.
And they want to let me know. And every time you turn around, they were calling, checking it considerably, not just a few points, just a little below normal.
Dramatic drop.
When they were always above normal and have a lot of other. Yeah, they've been calling everybody, having me sending videos and inviting. So that's all I want to mention.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that, Catherine. And if you can get her to come on the call, we'd be happy to hear that story. So thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from her directly. Yeah,
she had a funeral to attend at the time.
Yeah, that happens. Unfortunately, these days it's more often than not. So, but thank you very much. Okay, so there we have it, folks. We have that all that in a nutshell. And I'm not sure if I made this clear in our discussion earlier about Novavax. The other downside about Novavax, besides the fact that they may be targeting other countries and it may not become available here in the United States, if it does become available in the States, there's rumors that it may not be until sometime next year, possibly the following year. So that's where you're just gonna have to make a decision about if you are choosing to get vaccinated, you'll have to decide which one of the others that you might be inclined to go for. So personally, I'm hoping that Novavax becomes available and that will solve a lot of people's problems. I hope it will become here or someplace within travel distance of here that would be easy to get. And if the FDA considers it to be an approved vaccine as well. Okay, so thank you folks very much for joining us. Remember, the testimonies that you hear on this program are purely anecdotal. We do not know the clinical circumstances around the person that told the story. They believe that they're true and we have no reason to doubt them, but we don't know what other factors may have weighed in on the progress that they made or the claims of success that they had. Results are atypical. What happens to one person may not happen to you. We strongly recommend that you seek the competent medical advice of professionals that you trust before making any decisions about your health and well-being. We have one more question trying to sneak in just before we shut down. Mario and Orsita.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to ask Miss Catherine, the one you just interviewed, about her sister whose blood pressure and blood sugar came down because of taking micro daily. I just would like to ask her, how much does her sister take every day?
Very good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Catherine.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, she was taking, she's on the micro daily EMF. And she started off just taking 2-3 times a day.
She's taking 2
times a day.
Oh, 2-3 times a day. Okay, so that would be around 6 in all?
And with food.
And with food.
Right.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, considering
I'm amazed.
That's not the recommended doses. The recommended dose of the EMF would be 3 capsules, twice a day. So that's
I know.
That's pretty significant that she got those kinds of results with less than the normal amount.
Okay. Oh, wow. But my problem, Mr. Jonathan, is that when I started, I took 4 capsules every day, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. But then I remember talking to Jeff, is the host that day, when I told him about I developed cramps on my right leg. And so they advised me to cut just 1 capsule every day. And so I take 3 capsules every day from that time on, and I didn't have any more what do you call this, cramps. And Jeff told us that there's quite a few people who experience the same thing that I experience. But I am sticking to just 3 capsules every day because if I add 1 more, I might develop cramps again. So I don't. So I'll just stick to the 3 capsules a day then. But then I want my blood sugar to come down. I could not take more than 3. I don't know. It's kind of a dilemma for me.
I know. Try adding more potassium to your diet.
Okay.
And that will help you with the cramps, and then increase an additional dose of microdaily, but get some potassium. Add that to your diet, okay?
How about magnesium?
And
Because
magnesium.
I love to read health information.
Yeah.
And I heard about magnesium is also good for cramps.
Yes, the 2 will be very good. The problem with the magnesium is that you may start to get loose, runny bowels. With that. So that would be the only problem there, but you can increase the potassium with no downside.
All right. And you also mentioned a while ago that we could not take multivitamin while taking micro daily.
Correct.
And I remember mentioning to you about my bones. I have osteoporosis. It's not that severe yet, but I don't want it to come to that point. And that is why I'm taking calcium, and you advised me to take calcium. And you even mentioned this kind of calcium, which I forgot, immuno something.
Yes, from Immunotech. Yeah, they
Immunotech.
they have a pure milk calcium. This is the best one on the market, in my opinion.
So it won't alter the formula of Dr. Prasad?
No, my wife takes that calcium all the time.
Immunotech?
Yes.
Okay. So I can get that from Amazon?
You may not be able to get it from Amazon, but send me a text. You have my number, 754-300-8909.
Let me write that down. 754
300 8909.
8909.
Yeah, and I can connect you up with an Immunotech distributor that you can order from their website.
So that's a really good one, huh?
I think it's the best one out there. It's completely dissolves totally within a short period of time. Most of the other ones don't fully break down in the body.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. And thank you very much for your questions and your participation in our program. Okay, folks, so let's plan on next week. Invite someone that you care about to hear this discussion. If they, obviously if they attend here, we send them back to you and help them to we can together help them to improve, potentially improve their health and well-being by adding nutritional supplements to their diet and their regimen. We're going to invite Dr. Prasad to be with us later in the month, so we'll keep you posted as to when that is. If you are in WhatsApp and you have not been added to the healthcare support chat, then you might want to send a text to that same phone number, 754-300-8909, and we'll add you to that WhatsApp chat. That way you get direct notices as to when we have meetings and other news information that we present. All right, WhatsApp. The phone number again, 754-300-8909. Once again, for the record, my name is Jonathan Jones. It's been my pleasure and my privilege to be your host and moderator for this afternoon. We'll see you folks again next week. For those who like to stick around for the business meeting, we're going to have one for 8 minutes and 59 seconds right after this meeting is over with. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.